And he finally looked at me and he said, "It really doesn't matter what your blog articles say." And it blew my mind.
So, Chris, the way we're doing this is that, with Spotlight branding, and we always tell people a lot of times with marketing, you never want to trust a marketing agency or an advertising agency that has no sort of tangible results, right? They have no data. There's nothing they can deliver on the back end. With Spotlight branding, especially with content, one of the things we've really kind of struggled with was being able to show what people get with content. It's not as easy to show website results, SEO, Google Ads, etc. So I think a lot of things we're going to talk about today is what content is done for you, and what kind of result is produced, and so we can kind of dive in as to what some of those key metrics are. So I definitely would start with your version of where you started in law. Especially because 30, 40 years ago, lawyers did not have to market themselves. Professional industries did not have to market themselves. So I definitely want to take a little bit is what your story is and how you came to Spotlight branding, and start with that.
Sure. I started my career right out of law school at a fairly big firm, about 350 to 400 lawyer firm with offices in multiple states, and had a great experience there. Did about 5 years there where I felt I got training from some really smart, really capable lawyers. But I perceived some problems with the large law firm business model. And I can give you some examples of that. One area of expertise and interest of mine when I came into the practice of law was in music. And I was a music major as an undergrad, and I was really fascinated by how intellectual property law applied to music and creativity in general. I found all that to be really exciting. And
especially during that time with Napster.
Exactly. Napster's heyday was when I was in law school. It was.
You weren't at Northeastern, were you?
No, I was at UNC Chapel Hill,
right but way better school.
We studied the how evolving technology impacts our sort of by then outdated intellectual property laws. And so I tried to cultivate, as part of my general business and corporate practice, a subset where I focused on music-related clients or entertainment-related clients, or things that would allow me to really think about and operate in that space that I was so passionate about. And I just found that there were just certain restrictions about the large law firm business model that didn't align with that. I didn't feel like I had the flexibility really to make a lot of the decisions that I felt like I wanted to make. And so I had an opportunity come up at a smaller firm.
What year was this?
This would have been 2006.
Okay.
So 2001 to 2006, I was at the big firm. 2006, I joined the small firm. And that aligned with me a lot better.
How small are we talking here? We say small firm.
Yeah, so I would say the reason that I'm pausing for just a minute is I was at that firm for 10 years.
Okay.
And we stayed mostly the same size. But I would say we kind of hovered anywhere from 6 to 8 lawyers while I was there.
Sorry, all right, because I know we picked up with you in 2016, correct?
That's correct.
Correct. So we're looking at 2006, 2016 in a small firm. How was that firm marketing itself, if at all?
So my first couple years at that firm, I was an associate. So I was paid a salary, just like associates are at law firms. And then I was invited to become a partner at the firm. And the partnership model at that law firm was what is historically called eat what you kill. And basically what that means is you find your own work and you do your own work. And if you've got work you can delegate to somebody else, that's great. If someone else needs your help and they need to delegate work to you, that's great. We had a structure where we could calculate our compensation based on how much business you brought in, how much of your own work you did, how much work you did with others. And so that entrepreneurial approach to compensation, I think, aligned with me a lot better. But you're correct. You did mention in 2016 is how I found Spotlight Branding. I actually found Spotlight Branding, I think it was more maybe late 2015 or early 2016 when I was still at this firm. And the way that happened was I had been at the firm long enough. It was decided that it was my turn to be the managing partner of the firm. I was ready to do that because I felt like I had a lot of ideas and I wanted to be able to make some decisions on behalf of the business.
Okay.
And so one area where I felt our firm could improve was digital marketing. And that, in my view back then, and I think even up through today, that included to me website refresh, presence on social media, blog articles, electronic newsletter, all of these things that I felt like we just really weren't doing. And so I started looking for a partner, a vendor essentially, that could help us with that. And we interviewed 10 different companies, and Spotlight Branding ended up being far and away my favorite out of all of those. And so I took to my other partners, I had 3 other partners at the time, a proposal. And I said, I think that I would like to be a leader in this business when it comes to digital marketing, and I think Spotlight Branding is the right partner for us. For various reasons, I was not able to persuade my 3 other partners to do that, and the reasons varied from, I had one partner who said, I've got more work than I can do, and I don't see that changing at all, and I don't see any reason why I should invest money in marketing when I've got more business than I can handle.
Sure.
And so each of them, for various reasons, they weren't very excited about that. And that was when the light bulb went on in my head. If I want to have a law firm that's run the way I want to run it and that does marketing the way I think it should be done, I've got to be the sole decision maker. And that was really what led me to engage Spotlight Branding as really like my very first partner, my very first vendor, to go out on my own. And so it was just myself and it was a paralegal. We left the firm, went out on our own, and that's really when my journey with Spotlight Branding began.
So, before we get into the journey with Spotlight Branding, we talked about, you said, eat what you kill, right?
Yeah.
How did you hunt? How did you get clients? Because we're talking about the entrepreneurial spirit here. Please edit that out because I said that wrong 3 times. But I want to know how, because I think it's all going to facilitate you coming to Spotlight Branding and why you started this. So I just want to know how you hunted.
Yeah, it's a smart observation because really, I would say throughout my career, the one thing that hasn't changed is the importance of relationships and the importance of doing really good work.
Yep.
You mentioned earlier, decades and decades ago, lawyers really didn't have to think a lot about marketing because a good lawyer that did good work and established that role of trusted advisor with their clients had plenty of work to do.
Right.
And I think in a lot of ways that is still true.
Yes. Without a doubt.
My relationships with my clients and my referral sources are very important.
Okay.
And so the answer to your question is, how did I hunt? It was relationship building and it was doing good work were the foundations of those things. And so what I was seeking was, I need someone that can help me take the work that I'm putting into nurturing these relationships with clients and referral sources and enhance it. Put it on steroids. Really like I'm sitting here hitting singles. I want to be knocking them out of the park.
Yeah.
And so I knew I've always been technologically minded. I love gadgets. I love computers, technology of all types. And so I knew there had to be ways that I could leverage technology to help support me in my efforts to nurture these relationships.
So were you referral based? This was from 2006 to 2016. So you were referral based and you saw digital marketing as a way to hit it out of the park versus hitting singles.
Yeah, 100%.
Got it. All right. So in 2016, so we're talking, you're leaving a large law firm. You have, because a lot of times we talk about referrals is based on network. I mean, how large your network is and how much we're staying top of mind within your network. What sort of network did you have leaving the large firm, and what sort of network did you carry over as you started in your own firm in 2016?
I would say from, if we rewind all the way back to 2006, when
Yeah.
I left the really big firm to go to the smaller firm, I had a bit of a network. In fact, there are still a handful of clients I work with today that date all the way back to then.
That's awesome.
But I didn't have a sufficient network to support myself
Yep.
in an eat what you kill model.
Right. Okay.
And so, I think a lot of what I did to develop that network over those 10 years when I was at the small law firm leading up to when I went out on my own,
Yeah.
a lot of what I did was intentionally, deliberately aimed at growing that network. And a lot of it was just by virtue of the fact that if you're around long enough and
Yep.
you do good work long enough, people will find you, people will recommend you, things like that. And so that's really what it was during that period of time. Now, I don't want to give the impression that I didn't do anything relative to digital marketing during
Right.
that time. I had started a blog on my own. It wasn't on our law firm website. It was
Okay.
my own blog on the side about trademark law. And I had started, believe it or not, a completely separate blog about an area of law that I was interested in at the time, which was gaming law. It was
Yeah.
really about gambling and how
Yeah.
international and U.S. laws
You're ahead of the time
overlap
on that
and
one.
conflict and things like that. Yeah. So there were things that I was doing.
Consistently, or just are we talking hodgepodge? Are we just like as you saw them? Or was this something? Were you putting that blog out every month? Was it something you were doing every week?
It was consistent, but I think it was more on the order of about there probably new content once a month or so.
Okay, that's still great.
It was kind of neat because when I partnered with Spotlight Branding and when Spotlight Branding built my website, which has a blog as part of it, I actually carried over some of that content from way back when.
Absolutely.
And so if you dig deep enough on our blog, you can see articles that I wrote about trademarks and online gaming back, going back 10 years or more.
That are still evergreen enough to be relevant now.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, so in 2016, how many in 2016, that first year?
Yeah.
Just give me a baseline. Like, how many clients were you getting, and where were you in your relationship with Spotlight Brand? Like, what services were you getting? How long? And we're gonna fast forward the timeline and
Sure.
see how you built it.
Sure. For me, going out on my own, the most important thing I felt I wanted to get done right away was a solid website.
Sure.
That was the first thing that I engaged Spotlight Branding to do. I think at the time, I had the record for the website that got built the quickest. It was because I was so eager to get it done. Like anytime Spotlight asked me a question, I was like Johnny on the spot with the answer.
We say that all the time.
And
You're right. It's a collaborative street here.
Yeah.
So the more you're willing to give, the faster we work too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So started there. I was very happy with that website, and the website that Spotlight Branding designed for me really became the design aesthetic for a lot of the marketing that I did following that, leading up to and including today.
Yeah.
For example, on our homepage at the time, we've done our website refresh since then, but on our homepage at the time, the image that viewers would see when they would land on our homepage was the perspective was sort of looking up at these like skyscrapers or office buildings.
Yep.
And that image and that theme of looking up at the skyscrapers, it showed up on our banners that we put up when we sponsor events. It has showed up in brochures and things like that that we've done. And so that was really impactful. And I think that's one thing I got right was A, picking Spotlight Branding, and B, making the website as good as it could be.
Okay.
So that's where we started, and I was in constant contact with the team at Spotlight Branding about other services, and gradually, added on the blog. Let me talk about blog article writing for a second.
Please.
Because I believed at the time, back in 2016, I believed there was no way that a non-lawyer could write legal articles for a law firm blog. I just didn't see how that could be.
It's a very rare concern.
I'm sure nobody's ever voiced that
Never.
before, right? It's interesting because in some ways I still believe that.
Yeah.
However, my mindset has completely changed
Okay.
about the role that my blog plays in
Okay.
supporting my business development and marketing efforts. So let me tell you what I mean by that. I started out thinking that there would be people out there, whether it's other lawyers, referral sources, clients, that would be scrutinizing my blog word by word to see, just how smart I am and just how much do I know about this topic and what unique takes do I have and these kinds of things. And I slowly learned that that's really not the way most blogs work. And I would dare to say almost all law firms' blogs don't work that way.
I agree.
I started to view the blog instead as a tool that I could use to demonstrate my expertise in a topic. Naive me would have said, well, the way you demonstrate your expertise is you write all these really well-written, eloquent, and clever things that only you, this brilliant lawyer, can write from
You
your
are
mind.
brilliant, but keep going.
Yeah. The truth of the matter is, I almost think the name of each blog article might be the most important part of the blog
And the
article.
subheaders, yeah.
And the subheaders as well. Because they quickly communicate to anyone who scans my blog a thumbnail sketch of what my expertise is.
Fair.
I remember very well having a conversation with Mark Cerniglia of Spotlight Branding about this topic.
Yeah.
I could tell he was getting exasperated with this sort of like old way, this like mindset of mine that I was carrying forward from my prior experiences. And he finally looked at me and he said, "It really doesn't matter what your blog articles say." And it blew my mind. When he said that, I knew he was exaggerating.
Right.
Because it does matter what my
Sure.
blog articles say.
Absolutely.
But what he was trying to convince me of, and he chose the right way to do it.
Okay.
What he was trying to convince me of was understanding the role of blog articles in the overall picture of developing a business, a law practice.
Yep.
And once I started thinking about it that way, once I allowed myself to not require each and every blog article to sound like it came from my voice or out of my head,
Yep.
it's kind of like the world opened up for me then. And I'm so happy to say that I now check Spotlight Branding's blog articles that they write for me for blatant mistakes, misstatements of the law, typos, things like that. It's rare that I ever find any of those things.
Good job, Dylan.
And therefore, I'm almost always good with what's provided now. And so if someone were to, in the highly unlikely event that someone were to take many, many hours and sit there and just scrutinize and go through my blog, it is true they may not necessarily be hearing the messages from these articles in my voice.
Okay.
But it is a great tool for people to learn about me and learn about our firm. And so that's been the evolution of my mindset relative to blogs.
If we're going to stick for blogs in a moment, so you said that Mark Cerniglia explained that it blew your mind open with blogs.
Yeah.
Did you see any sort of difference in the way your clients were approaching you, or were they better educated when they came to you? Did they read blog articles or content you put out? I mean, did it create a better client for you, a more informed client, or did it create a client that was better to work with? I mean, what outside of like your own perspective on what a blog does in an overall marketing scheme, have they shown any results otherwise?
I would say it is rare when a client comes to me that they mention the fact that they've seen my blog at all. There have been some notable exceptions,
Please.
However. I'll give you one exception from our recent
Yeah,
experience.
we love the
This is
anecdotes. We love the stories.
This has really just been in the past, certainly 12 months, maybe past 9 months or so. We wrote a couple of articles about med spas. So med spas are hot right now,
Yep.
and our firm has a background in working with clients in the medical industry from various angles. And there is a good deal of confusion now about what exactly med spas can do and can't do, how they must be structured in order to be legally compliant.
Okay.
It turns out that a lot of med spas out there, not just in our state of North Carolina, but across the country, are not compliant and are risking, some pretty serious consequences if they don't address that. So we wrote a couple of blog articles about that, and that was, I would say, the most impactful example of us having a blog article, having people find us through that blog article, and then that turning directly into business.
Okay.
As I think we've probably already established, I don't view blog articles as the type of thing where someone reads it, picks up the phone, calls us, and they're a client.
Accurate.
But that doesn't mean it never happens, and this is an exception to that rule.
Yeah. All right. So, wonderful point about the blogs. Absolutely want to mean just dead on. We could probably use that as a commercial at some point. But I mean, at the same time too. So take us through the growth.
Sure.
The growth of your firm. You know, what was it like in 2016, or maybe jump in 2018 to 2020 and show it. And if you could tie any sort of marketing initiatives, and again, if you did direct mailers, if you did Google ads, or Facebook ads, anything outside of that, on top of that, please feel free to add that in. We don't need to hold it to content marketing, but I definitely want to see what sort of how your firm grew and any sort of marketing results that helped you enhance your network, and how you've grown your network in that time too.
Sure. So I mentioned it was just myself and a part-time paralegal when we started.
Yeah.
The first hire that I made was a remote legal assistant.
Okay.
I used a service to find this person. They put us through personality tests and work habit tests and things like that. And they matched me with an amazing virtual legal assistant that worked with me for many years.
Okay.
She ended up leaving the country, moving to another country, and she even kept working for me while she was living in Europe for a time.
Love it.
So that was the first hire, and I think, like a lot of small businesses, I don't think I'm terribly different than other business owners in this way. I find it challenging. I find the hiring process challenging.
Oh yeah.
And so we've made some great hires over the years, and we've made some mistakes over the years. And again, I don't think there's anything unique about that. But in 2018, I want to say it was early 2018, I hired a lawyer to help with copyright and trademark work. She had great credentials, good law school. She had been trained at a great law firm. And so she found me she was introduced to me through a mutual acquaintance, and has turned out to be invaluable to our business. I think when you ask me, describe the growth of the firm, I first think about the growth of our personnel. And so we're up to, there's 6 of us now. There's 2 lawyers and 4 staff. I'd love to find a 3rd lawyer. I've been trying. I'm just not going to force it.
Sure.
But that's how the team has grown. Now obviously, the growth of the team necessarily must correspond with the growth of the legal work that we have to do. So it's been, I guess how I would describe it, is very organic process. We have set goals.
Yeah.
We've done business planning.
Yep.
We've had coaches.
Yep.
We've done budgets. We do all these things. The future has never gone exactly the way our plans have forecasted they have. But there's a saying that I absolutely love, which is, the plan means nothing. The planning is everything. And that is something that I think has resonated really true for me, because in the process of forecasting and planning how your business is going to grow and what it's going to look like in the future, you just learn so many things about your business. You learn about your team, you learn about your clients, you learn about your numbers, all these different things. And so I've found it to be really valuable. Just to be perfectly honest and transparent,
Always.
I had expected that our firm would be bigger than it is now.
Yeah.
And I do feel like we're at a size where it's very comfortable to stay kind of right where we are.
Yep.
Kind of moving to the next level, it's going to take work, and it's going to take some rethinking of systems and policies and procedures and things like that. It's going to take energy.
Lots.
Yeah. And so I am a growth-minded person. I get a lot of personal and professional satisfaction out of helping our clients grow their businesses. I don't know what we will look like at this time next year or 2 years or 5 years. It's hard to say. But I will just say that the growth from just myself and a part-time paralegal up to the team of 6 that we have now, I feel like maybe for the first time, I feel like I can say I have A+ players in every role in the business, and I'm very happy with that.